Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilter's Heaven in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode, number 140, is the Battle of the Hunter Star Trim Tools. But before we get to that, stay tuned to the end of the episode to see the winner of the Bundle of Batiks and see the new giveaway. Also, I'm still looking for questions to do a Q&A session, so if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Okay, let's get to the episode. Hunter Star. Over the years, one of the more difficult blocks to piece until Deb Tucker came along with her Hunter Star trim tool, and it has made making this block so much easier. What is the Hunter Star block made up of? Each square has trapezoid and a triangle of the same color, another trapezoid and triangle of another color, and star points. These could be the same colors or different colors. You could do it just in a two-color version, where this star point is the same as this trapezoid and vice versa. There's many different variations, but those are the pieces. Trapezoid, half square triangle, star point. Recently, Creative Grids came out with a new Hunter Star trim tool by Deb Heatherly, and I decided to test it out. So I'm first going to go through the differences on the board, and then we'll move the camera down to the table and I will show you examples of what I'm talking about up here. So to start with, the first thing I noticed on the Deb Heatherly was the cutting of the trapezoids. In Deb Tucker's method, you use her tool, her ruler, to cut a trapezoid, and then you turn it upside down and cut the next one and cut the next one. And it uses up as much of the strip of fabric as you can possibly use with no waste. The Deb Heatherly method has you cut rectangles and then use the tool to trim off corners. But the benefit of, even though there's waste, the benefit of it is she gives you what she calls them smart corners, but it allows you to align these trapezoid pieces with the star points without the long extra end of the pointy triangle that we would call dog ears. The next thing is in Deb's method, and I always like this about hers, is in almost everything she does, is because things are slightly oversized, you don't have to measure and mark. I see that on the square in a square. I used to have to align the triangles and find the centers and mark them, and now you just visually center it, and then because you then trim it down, it all comes out perfect. In the Deb Heatherly method, you do have to find the center of the trapezoid and the center of the triangle, mark them and match them. And that just makes much more work than the visually centering. The next thing is the instructions and the quantity and quality of the information in the instructions. In Deb Tucker's instructions, she gives you charts of how many pieces you can get from each strip of fabric. So it's a yield per strip. So when you're creating your project, you can say, I'm going to make so many blocks. How many of these strips do I need to cut? Well, she's already given you the starting point for the math. So it's much easier to calculate how much yardage you're going to need. She also gives you an example guide so that you can just follow her steps if you don't know how to do it on your own. Really, really helpful. in the instructions for the Deb Heatherly Creative Grids ruler, it tells you what to cut for one block, and then you just have to do all your calculations by yourself. It's not that difficult. This just gives you a real leg up. The next thing I noticed on the Deb Heatherly's ruler is that it's not as easy to see where the ruler should lay to mark to trim. In Deb Tucker's rulers, the lines are real thin, so when there's an intersection that you need to lay on something, you can see it really clearly. And it's not so thick that you can get off. They're real clear, real easy to read, real easy to see. In the Deb Heatherly ruler, she has 3 sizes on the ruler. And so they're marked A, B, and C. And the A, B, and C are in little white boxes. So when you lay that onto your piece to trim, the little white box blocks what you're trying to see. So it's more difficult, at least for me, it was more difficult to use. The last thing is the price, not substantially different. On Deb Tucker's ruler, the petite has 4 sizes, the large has 4 sizes. The petite is MSRP of $36, $39 for the large. On Deb Heatherly's, it's 3 sizes for $33.99 MSRP. So not substantially different in price. Now, let's move the camera down to the table and I will go through these and show you examples. Here's Deb's Rapid Fire Hunter Star ruler. And I'm going to start with the cutting of the trapezoids. So, as I showed on the whiteboard, you start with a strip. It's got 4 sizes on it. I'm doing the 6. I go to the line that's 6. Line that gives you a top and bottom line clearly marked. Cut. And then you flip it upside down. You use the same top and bottom marks. Cut and go on all the way down the line. On the Deb Heatherly ruler, let me show you that. This is the ruler. And down here is the portion that you line up to trim, and up here is where you cut your trapezoids and star points. So the first thing I noticed on this when I started to cut the star point is, and I guess if you're really skinny, it doesn't much matter, but I have a little bit of a rotund belly, and when I was laying the ruler on like this, you can't see it on the camera because it's out back towards me, but my belly's pushing up against the ruler. So I didn't care for that, but I did find a very easy solution. Instead of laying your strip horizontally like it shows in the instructions, lay it vertically, and then I didn't have the tummy push. And you go ahead and can cut like that. Now the benefit, although that's waste, the benefit of this, as you can see, is how the points are trimmed off. And so what happens then when you're sewing these trapezoids to your star points, these are your star points, you can see that everything just lines up. Just line it up. There's no possibility of getting it off if you've cut them right. So that is the portion on the trapezoid cutting. The next thing I want to show you is the oversized triangles. This is the Deb Tucker method, and you have your trapezoids already attached to your star points. That's all in the instructions how to get to this step. And here is the triangle. And if you just lay it on here, I guess white was not a good choice for the, maybe we can see better here. Yeah, I think this is a better view. You just want to see visually that this little white triangle coming out of the bottom here and the little bit up there is pretty much equal, and then you sew, and that's fine. You don't have to mark the center of the trapezoid and the center of the triangle. Different on the Deb Heatherly. You actually need to find the center, so you would just you'd fold it in half and crease it so that you can see the little fold. Same with the trapezoid. And then line up your two creases, pin, and then sew. So more work. The next thing I talked about was the instructions. You can take a look at the instructions for the Creative Grids one. This is the instructions for the Creative Grids. It's got some good pictures in it. I don't deny that. Here's the chart for what you need to cut. Here is the Deb Tucker. It has tons of information in it. It is a big, big piece of paper. Continues on to the back, all the way down, and then this little section just tells you some other tools that are available. But what I really want to show the most is this section here gives you a math example. This chart here tells you your yield per strip so that you can calculate how much yardage you need, and it gives you an example of a 2-color project, a 3-color project, and a 4-color project with yardage that you can use as a basis to calculate how much yardage you might need for something else. And I've always find it easy, if you do one of these little tiny ones from the pattern here, you get the hang of the project so that you can move on to do more complicated ones. The last thing I wanted to show you was the markings on the ruler. And back to Deb Tucker's, her intersections are very clearly marked, and her instructions tell you exactly where these should lie on your block to trim them perfectly. The issue I have with Deb Heatherly, and I hope you can see this on here. I might hold it up closer to the camera here. Okay, it's glaring, so you can't quite see it. There are little squares here, A, B, C, A, B, C, and they're white. And so where you're trying to do your mark, it's hard to see. On the edge of the white, there is a little black line, and I think that's what you're trying to line up, but it just, to me, is more difficult than the Deb Tucker ruler. So all in all, it does make a fine Hunter Star block. This is the Deb Heatherly Creative Grids version. This is the Deb Tucker version. And the one thing I noticed right away is these are thinner than these. You start these at 2, these start at 1 3/4. Personally, I prefer this view. But that doesn't mean the next person doesn't like this one better. That, it's personal preference. So they both have some waste in the trimming. I think this one has more waste, but it's not enough to turn you off from this method if you like this method better. My overall review, not surprisingly, is I much prefer Deb Tucker's, but there's nothing really wrong with Deb Heatherly's if you like that version better. So that's the episode. Let's get to the winner. The winner of the Bundle of Batiks is Nina Latting, 7333. I hope I said the name right. It's NINALATTING 7333. Please send me your mailing address so I can get that Bundle of Batiks out to you. And the next giveaway is, it's not a huge one, but I think it's quite lovely. It's called Raindrops. It's from Fat Quarter Style. It's 33.5 inches by 45 inches. And if you'd like to finish this and gift this to your favorite person, please enter to win. You know what to do. Please like this video, make a comment, and subscribe to my channel. And in the comment, write Raindrops, and you will be entered to win. Also, don't forget, keep the questions coming in the comment section. And until next time, happy sewing.